most important tool to marriage. And I personally believe it's communication. I personally believe it's communication because, you know, for instance, at work, we could compile an email and send it, okay? And it's up to the person that receive it to interpret it. And sometimes we misinterpret what our spouses meant. And, you know, we also have to understand that nonverbal communication is still communication.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
I love to mess with my husband. He's much better now, but I'll say, babe, do you love me? And he's like, girl, you know I love you. I want to hear you tell me you love me.
My voice is a little deeper than that.
Say.
Yeah, I hope so.
Put some bass in that.
Okay, all right. You know, I guess what you mean is the fact that we're still together. You're the priest. You are the provider. You're the protector, and you're keeping it together on that sector.
Right.
However, unless you give me verbal communication, sometimes I'm just left on the outside.
But that's still the same thing, like you're saying. I thought that those things were being communicated to you, and if you're not telling me, then I don't know.
Absolutely. So one of the things for us over the years, that was our issue, communication. I had this great man of God, loved me, and I knew that. However, I needed more communication. Even today, he's a much better communicator, but I will just leave little notes in his briefcase, on the counter. And just Friday, I said, do you love me? Yes or no? I forgot to say maybe so.
Yeah.
And then I asked him to explain it. And so he had to go into details and to pull it out. And it really made me feel good. The fact that we've been together 35 years.
And then not only that too, to kind of made me felt like we were first dating, that
I wanted to feel like that.
There's affirmation at this stage of the game.
Absolutely.
But
you know, when you guys talk about communication and you know how it's so important in a relationship, in any relationship. It's important in relationships. It's important with friendships. You know, it's important in your job. But specifically in relationships, depending on what a person has dealt with in life, you know, past relationships, upbringing, all of that will kind of tailor how they, one, communicate to someone, and two, how they interpret what has been transmitted, so to speak. You know, that's to learn that in communication 101. You know, you have the sender, and then you have the receiver. And a lot of times, if a person has had a complicated upbringing, they may transmit or receive rather an easy message completely different than what it's been intended. So I think communication on both sides takes time to kind of know how, one, a person interprets a message, and two, talk about body language. That's a good indicator of what someone is feeling on the inside. And so all of these things come into play with regard to communication, because you know, we can say things and mean it one way, and then the person who hears it hears something completely different, but it has nothing to do with you. It can be something that, you know, something that they heard a while back that triggered something in that, to just hear what their brain or their past told them to hear. So it's very important that we understand, you know, that you make clear what you are trying to convey, so that it will be understood the right way. And I think that takes time.
Training.
You know, it takes really understanding one another.
And, you know, I love that point that you brought out, Apostle. Even during that day, You know, you could have been going through something at work and it just frustrated you and got you in a different headspace. And all of a sudden, I need to communicate. And so that is important so that I will sense that this is not the time to have a deep conversation. And that's why when you first come in from work, I usually give you that space in your man cave just to decompress, you know, before I come in with any conversation versus, you know, the kiss at the door. How can I, do you need anything? That type of thing. Then I kind of give you that time to decompress.
Yes.
So how does that work for you that I give you that space? I've learned over the years to allow you time to come in and to give you that space.
Well, yes, as you said, it allows me time to sort of decompress my day and unwind, but and at the same time, it gives me that space to kind of reflect what's going on, to and to appreciate what I have at home, because you hear so much negativity throughout the day. You know, guys, sometimes guys come to my office, they want to talk, and it's business, but sometimes a lot of personal things that they're going through. So I allow them space for that. So, but I am mindful when I come home that, yes, I hadn't seen you all day, but, you know, although we talk throughout the day, to give you the space also to share what you have on your mind. And
Right,
your heart.
right. Because early on in our marriage, I had a list of things. You know, we could talk throughout the day, but during the day, we're just talking in general.
Right.
Now, when you enter the room, it's time to talk about the kids, what they did, what they didn't do, you know, all that type of stuff. And sometimes I can recall you say, just give me a little time. I just need a little time. We'll talk about it in a moment.
That was my body language saying that.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm speaking about. Exactly. What about you guys? How do you handle communication?
Well, let me say this before we go any further. You know, this is Dr. Tim Brantley's seminar, and he's going to be joining us when he can. And so he asked us to get this on my page, but this is his thing. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understands that his lovely wife, Portia, is on. She is waiting for him to join us, and we're hoping that he'll be able to join us soon. So I just wanted to put that out there. Can you ask that question again, Annie?
Communication. How important is communication in your marriage? And how do you handle communication with verbal and nonverbal communication?
Well, again, it's very important. It's very important. One, how you handle it. That's another question, because it depends. You know, there's so many factors that are involved, and we know the textbook answers. I think the older you get, the more you just want to just settle and kind of, you know, just kind of chill and not hear a whole lot. Whereas when you're younger, you can just bounce and fly and talk and all those things. But when you get a little older, you just kind of want to, you know, okay, what's not, and let's keep it moving. And so that's where understanding comes in, you know, because one person may be a talkative person, whereas the other may not be may not be. And so you really have to understand one another and allow love to kind of take its course, for lack of better terms, and to hear them out and to have, you know, the other mates understand that, hey, okay, they just got home, they may need some space, or you know, they may need this or that, whatever the case is. I think time will kind of cause you to gel, because you begin to understand one another, and you won't have to talk about this and talk about that. Whereas initially, you would definitely have to make sure you talk about things. And some people are not easy to talk to, and it depends on what a subject may be. It may be something that's not comfortable. And so we have to have our antennas up, you know, because there may be some things that when you come together, on one hand, for one person, it may be easy to talk about. It could be something simple, whereas the other person, they may go into shutdown mode. And so, I think we have to kind of work through those things. So yes, it is important how we deal with it. I've come a long ways because I can just shut down like altogether. I'll shut down and just let stuff bottle. I would allow things to bottle up, kind of like a pressure cooker. so, and that's not good, because what happens is, something that could have nothing to do with your spouse, you could just be set off and then take all of the built up frustration out on them. And they're like, "What? I just asked you if you wanted breakfast." It's just so.
And I'm an over communicator. I over communicate. I'm the type of person where I go up the street, round the corner, detour, come back.
Alaska.
I believe, like, Portia, back me up, please. I believe that over communication sometimes is healthy. I think that maybe not when I'm telling a story and it has nothing to do with like the overall, like, maybe when it's nothing serious or whatever the case might be. But I don't know. I believe over communication can be healthy because it really like allows your partner to really understand you. Like, I think you understand me you probably understood me very early on because I over communicate. Let me just put it that way. I don't know what you don't appreciate my over communication.
It's not a thing of appreciation. It's a thing of understanding. And so now that I know her, now see, that's what I'm saying. So I know her. I know that she'll, like, for something as simple as going to the store to get something, I'll hear about the stop sign, stoplight, the trunk, the door closing, that portion. So I'll just get all the intricate details, and I'm like, dude, like, what did you get? I want to hear all of that. But I understand her now. So, like, if she weren't here, I would say that, at some point I just tune her out. But since she is here, I can't say that.
Okay.
But we all know that you guys do that.
This couch we sitting on. This is gonna be his studio apartment tonight.
Hey, so I often give him a test question. What did I say?
I mean, like, deer in the headlights. I'm like, you said so much. I mean,
yeah. Make sure
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yes,
but
we can definitely open
it. He understands a whole lot more about me, and he understood a lot about me in a short window of time because I'm the type of person where I'm very expressive. So I think it was healthy, even if you don't appreciate it. He's benefited from it over the years because now there's certain things I don't even have to say, and even with him, there's certain things he doesn't even have to say. Like you said, that body language and that nonverbal communication is still communication. So now we've been able to learn each other in ways where we don't even have to say certain things. Like, he'll come upstairs and I'll take one look and I'm like, okay, what's wrong? Like, and him with his under communication self, he'll be like, I'm all right. I'm okay. And I'll be like, okay, what's going on? What happened? Did you get a phone call? Is everything? I'll just pick up on his nonverbal cues when something's off. And I also know when he got a little bit of extra money in his pocket too, because his nonverbal communication when he got a little bit of cash is very obvious.